to the Behind the Drapes podcast. I'm your host, Expo Rich, and we are here recording at the SISO Leadership Conference here in Seattle. My guest today, Paul Miller, the CEO of Emerald QuestX.
Correct.
Yes, I got it right.
You did.
Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate
Pleasure.
you sitting with me and having this conversation. So I started doing this podcast because our entire careers are built on showcasing brands, be it a show or maybe an exhibitor or a sponsor or even maybe the organizers. You know, we're here to show them, and we don't often hear the people that are making that magic happen. So people like you have been building shows and building things. I always love to hear their story, how they got to where they were today, and kind of the people that helped them out along the way. So I always like to start with the origin story and the question of, how did you find your first trade show?
Oh my God, it's a great question. So I'm not from the trade show industry.
Mm-hmm.
I was from the media industry and started my career in media, in the tech space.
Mm-hmm.
And the first trade show that I came across actually was, it's called the Embedded Systems Conference, and that only occurred because we were bought by, at the time, Miller Freeman, and we were a media business. They brought us in, they combined us, and they said, "Hey, good news, you've got an event in all of this mix."
Okay.
And I ended up with a trade show that, or a conference really, that we had to learn pretty quickly. What was it? How do we work it? And I think, candidly, we kind of looked down our noses a little bit at it. We thought it was not as important as the news media that we were producing beforehand. So that's how I fell into it at the time. Okay,
so it was like, you're so used to just doing the media large and building your community at a mass, but like an actual in-person community wasn't on the...
I only took one show and I was hooked. I was like, oh, this is different. This is sort of visceral, it's immediate. And I would like more of this.
Yeah, okay. And then from there, in that one show, I'm sure it built into other ones, or did you move around on different portfolios?
Kind of, yes. So we sort of expanded the business. Eventually it became a full tech kind of waterfront. So we ended up with products like the Game Developer Conference, the Black Hat Security Conference, and they were all in the tech portfolio that I ended up running.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of very large market-moving events. Like they literally would attract a global audience, and you actually saw real kind of decision-making happen at the event. It was more than just people speaking on stage. It was like the entire global community was there.
Right.
By that time, now I'm going probably back now, 12 years back from where I am now, but that was where I thought, wow, these things have real power.
And that was already under the QuestX banner? Or?
No, this was pre-QuestX. I didn't join QuestX until 2018-19, so this is still back in the 2012 period of time, 10 to 12. Still in the tech industry and very much in the tech industry. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the QuestX part of it came later. Between then and the QuestX piece, there was one other company that we ended up selling to Informa.
Okay.
I went to work for Informa for a couple of years, and then was hired to run QuestX out of Informa, and then came into this gig, or that gig.
Yeah, that gig.
There's another one since then. But.
Yeah. Okay, and so, kind of an evolution throughout from, media to first shows to multi-shows to then large organizer and global organizer. So been quite a run, and obviously, like I always like to say, leadership doesn't happen on accident. So I'm sure that throughout the years you've had some great mentors that have helped you out and pulled you up along the way. And I don't know if there's anybody that jumps out, and when you think about that, like, who are some of the people that you like to speak on?
Yeah, there's a few actually along the way. I think the first one was a guy called Girish Matre. Mm-hmm. He was actually the guy that brought me from the UK to the US after our European venture had failed. Mm-hmm. And he actually said, look, why don't you come over to the US? This was sort of pre 9/11, and was probably easier then than it is today to do that kind of move. But he was a very, he was from a content background. He really knew the industry. He really knew the people in the industry. and he would expose us to those relationships. So really senior folks, the CEO of Intel, for instance, and he would bring us into meetings with those types of people. And he was almost like it's like a coach, mentor, and boss all at the same time.
That's great.
And really kind of helped sort out, I think, the wheat from the chaff in terms of decision making, and was able to cut through the noise to get to the signal. And I always was very thankful for he had the trust to move me across, which was the beginning of this journey, and B, that he was always there to share time. So he was right at the front. And then very quickly following Girish was a guy called Steve Weitzner, who many people in the industry know. Steve was a serial CEO of many companies. And Steve was, he had that market focus and that customer focus that was I've always been fortunate to have as a guiding star. Always, when in doubt, figure out what the customer is looking for, figure out what customer problem you're solving. Not your problems, but figure out their problems, and then you'll get to a good answer business-wise. So Steve had that, but Steve also had a really great way with people, and actually taught me how to build trust, how to create safe environments where people could challenge and take risks, and if they fell on their face, it wasn't the end of the day. You learn and you go again. So another great mentor, and then there's probably two others.
Sure.
Long-winded, I know, but I've had a long career.
I'd love to hear it.
There was a guy called David Levin, who was the CEO of UBM.
Okay.
He challenged me in ways that I hadn't been challenged before. Not always easy. Didn't always like what I heard, but it was very honest. It was very authentic. It came from a really good place. He actually gave me, I think, 7 promotions in a 7-year period. So despite the challenges, he obviously was also willing to support me as well.
Being hard on you for a reason.
And it wasn't kind of tough love, but it was always very data driven, and it was it wasn't emotional. It wasn't about thoughts and feelings. It was about, look, the data's telling us this, and you're not kind of going in the direction of the data. So David was somebody that added that to decision making and leadership. So you're coming from sort of a customer-led, people, data. These are great foundations and all the way you're learning all the way. And then probably last but not least was David Kisselstein, who was a guy who took a chance on me at Penton when I was actually looking for my next move. Persuaded me that private equity was a good place to be. It was a very clear route. And David basically brought all of that previous story together, and he gave me complete trust and said, look, I think you're there, now go and make it all work together. And that ended up in the Informa exit. David actually ended up being the chair of the QuestX business. So he's been there all the way along my private equity journey, which has been the last third of my life. It's a long-winded answer, I'm sorry. But
no, it's perfect, because it really shapes who we are as the mentors that we have along the way, and that's perfect.
And there's probably more that I'm forgetting,
but I mean, really, that does. You told the story, and that's exactly what I love to dig into. Is like I said, you're not here on accident. You're here because you're built on the foundation of others that have built you up.
Right on.
So, what has you excited about 2027?
Well, I mean, look, firstly, I've got a new job here, and Apollo has bought my previous company and another company, put them together, and have asked me to lead the charge. So the first excitement is that I think there's a whole host of growth to unlock in the business. And I'm really excited about the people I'm meeting. I'm 4 weeks into the job, so one thing I can say is I'm meeting great people and we have great products. So you put those two things together, and I think we have a chance to create something special. Beyond that, I mean, the whole thesis of the acquisition is that Apollo, as a large private equity company, looked at what's going on out there and said, we think this in real life, this live experience, this bringing people together, is probably about as exciting a business segment to be in an AI-dominated world where trust is hard to come by.
Very true.
Do I trust this video? Do I not trust this video? Do I trust this content or not? So that, I think, is going to attract more attention to our industry from our customers. That should translate to more dollars coming our way.
Right.
All of that is net positive, yeah? But I think there's also a challenge that comes with that, and that is more expectation. The ROI on those dollars better be increasing. The reporting on my investment better be really crisp. The way you connect people better be more technology enabled.
But also the curation of like the experience.
Correct. Curate the serendipity. You know, allow people to still have these imperfect, accidental moments at the bar. That's all great. Right. But also make sure you're helping to create the experience, because that's better use of people's time, better ROI. Yeah. So I think there are challenges out there. They're net positive. Yeah. But I probably, after a relatively long career in the industry, I think this is about as exciting a time as I've seen, frankly. It's really, it's ours to lose.
There's an interesting piece of what you said, because, and I try to explain this too, you know, when I'm often explaining our industry, as we often have to do, but when people try to say, the AI thing and will it affect, and I say, it's actually affecting us in a positive way, because, when you're in the room and you hear the person, the subject matter expert talk about it, you can believe it. Yeah. But when you see a video, videos can be made and generated and stuff, and you don't know what's true. Yep. So it's definitely given us such a solid boost of like, what people want. They want to hear the truth in the mouth, from the horse's mouth.
I think the boost is great. I think the shadow side is we've got to up our game. And that's the challenge for us all, I think, in the industry. Very true.
Well, thank you so much for doing this today.
You got it. Enjoyed it.
Wait, one more question.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, you've been coming to SISO for some years.
Yes.
So, what are some of the things that you really see a value added for the reason why you come to SISO?
So I'm currently the chair of SISO, actually.
Right. So you have to be here.
So I have to be here. No, I don't have to, but I love coming. I think there's probably two strands to the answer to that question. The first is, for me personally, what I get out of it is, the networking is unsurpassed, actually, at the SISOs. Great people, everybody willing to share, and we're all dealing with a version of the same challenge, and people are just willing to come, bring their best selves, and hopefully we get to a better answer. There are some real takeaways. I mean, at the last SISO, at the CEO Summit, there was a panel discussion it was actually focused on launches, with some really deep learnings and mistakes that people had made. And I sat in the audience and went, I'm actually taking that back to the office. And we implemented a new launch team. Oh, wow. Simply based on that panel discussion. Yeah. Real
ROI.
Real result. It's like, we got to change the way we're doing things. And actually, the early results of that are that this is the right way to do it. We might have stumbled upon that over a year or two. We were able to move really, really quickly. So that's one whole selfish strand. The second strand would be, I think for people in general, it's great development. I think they can see what great leaders look like. It's good for them. They can embark on their own leadership journeys, their own growth patterns and growth journeys, and just look for people who have been successful and go, hey, I see what they did, how they got there. There's some things I need to change. I like the way they respond. Maybe I want to work for them one day. I think there's a career growth part of this, and then there's a whole learning how to run your business better part of it. It's unsurpassed. It's the best one in the industry.
Wow, I couldn't agree more. Again, thank you so much for doing this today, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks for everything you're doing. Thank you.